Yellowstone Steamboat Geyser Shatters previous record. It erupted 47 times in 2019. That's 15 times more than what happened in 2018. Steamboat Geyser, as we know, is in Yellowstone National Park in the Norris Geyser Basin. It has erupted 47 times for a new record. Last year, it only erupted 32 times. So basically, it's been erupting almost every week. This is by Stacy Liberatore, Daily Mail. So the tallest geyser, the biggest geyser in the world, set another record. As we know, Yellowstone has 60% of the world's geysers, and it has over 10,000 hydrothermal areas. New ones being found every so often. Steamboat Geyser erupted 47 times. Scientists speculate the eruptions are related to heavy snow in Yellowstone, creating more groundwater to feed geysers and hot springs. Well, okay, that's wonderful for an explanation, but it always has heavy snow. Yellowstone every year has heavy snow. Over 4 feet of snow, even in the beginning of May, that they have to go through to go and replace or update or somehow service their seismographs. Now, scientists speculate that it has to do with the heavy snow and rain. Now, Steamboat has the accolade as the world's largest, tallest geyser. It overshadows by the fame of popularity of the Old Faithful Geyser National Park. Old Faithful, as we know, it has a live cam 24/7, and we can watch that. Aaron White of Yellowstone National Park, the hydrologist, said that in the 1960s, there was another period where there were more than 20 eruptions per year. Before that, there were dormant periods of more than 50 years. So, okay, something has changed underneath to cause all this water to be erupting under Steamboat. Steamboat can shoot water more than 300 feet into the air. Broke a record in August when it erupted for the 33rd time. That was over last year's eruptions. And just when experts thought it could not get any better, the geyser shot off 14 more times. So the total of eruptions for this past year was 47, according to U.S. Geological Survey. Michael Pollan of USGS, in charge of Yellowstone volcano, wrote in an email earlier this year that there could be a few possibilities why Steamboat broke the activity this year. The one reason said could be the previous years of heavy snow and Yellowstone created more groundwater in order to feed the geysers and the hot springs. And he said that the Steamboat Geyser is starting to erupt more frequently just as spring snowmelt is at its peak. As we know, it started basically erupting in March of 2018, but it's ongoing almost every week since then. In 1969, Steamboat went off 29 times. Once it stood quiet for 50 years, lying dormant between 1911 and 1961. It can be months or years between blasts, making its eruptions very anticipated. But Old Faithful, on the other hand, erupts predictably 91 minutes after a blast longer than 2.5 minutes blast, or, usually when we see that, when I do, well, I'll put up another one on that, another video on that. Usually in the upper geyser basin there, where Old Faithful is, you know that Old Faithful is about to erupt because that's when the nearby geysers have more steam coming out. It's as if the whole ground there is more active a few minutes before Old Faithful erupts again. So 91 minutes after a blast longer than 2.5 minute blast, or 65 minutes after a blast shorter than 2.5 minutes, it has been called the most predictable geographical feature on our Earth. So why are the two geysers in the same park so different? Steamboat Geyser is on the northwest corner of the park towards Montana, the corner of Wyoming that is, and most geysers are not predictable. Those that are predictable, like Old Faithful, are very rare, and geologists feel that geysers like Old Faithful have a narrow conduit leading from an underground cavern, and before it erupts, water and steam gather in the cavern. When the pressure becomes too great, the steam, of course, shoots out through the conduit into the air. Park geologist Hank Hessler states that Yellowstone's geysers are fed by an underground plumbing network where the volcano heats the water and forces it to the surface. Up to now, the force that decides that it's showtime for Steamboat has eluded geologists. They don't know how that works and how predictable that will be. They've tried to link Steamboat's eruptions to external forces, such as, for example, faults and earthquakes, but there's no link made evident yet. Now we know that Yellowstone has a hotspot plume, and that sits up underneath the upper mantle. Above that we have the magma reservoir, and above that we have the magma chamber. The magma reservoir feeds the magma chamber. Now, even beside potential risks, the plan, of course, they are monitoring Yellowstone continuously, because, of course, they have to be aware that it's a supervolcano. It has had super eruptions 2.1 million years ago, 1.3 million years ago, 640,000 years ago. These were the last three super eruptions. They had a major eruption 70,000 years ago and 80 eruptions since then. One of them, 5,300 years ago, was a hydrothermal eruption, and that caused Mary Lake. A lake was caused by that. We had it, recently in the New Zealand volcano on the North Island was a hydrothermal eruption. The steam was building up with the water coming into the crater of the volcano. That was superheated to the point where it had to blast, it had to come out, and that's what caused the eruption. Even though they had quake swarms increasing a couple of weeks before that, they did not anticipate an eruption. But NASA believes that it could drill up to 6 miles down into the supervolcano to try and pump cold water at high pressure to cool it, at the same time causing a geothermal plant to be there. But that could be very, very dangerous. Michael Poland, who's the geologist in charge, says as long as he's there, no one's going to touch Yellowstone, because you could be bringing forth what you're trying to forego. In other words, if you touch the chamber, because it still don't know, it's so huge, if you touch it and crack the ceiling of the chamber, you can trigger an eruption, obviously, and that's going to be bad worldwide. So using the heat as a resource, they say NASA planned to mitigate and cool it down. Using the heat as a resource also poses opportunity to pay for a plan that could be used to create a geothermal plant. Okay, well, these are a little bit of pipe dreams because it's so dangerous. The method of subduing the supervolcano has a potential to backfire, triggering the supervolcanic eruption that they're trying to forego in the first place. So drilling onto the top of the magma chamber would be very risky, but carefully drilling from the lower sides could work. What can I tell you? That's too much of a risk, I think. So I'll leave links below for you for this. Is on Daily Mail. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.